Fresno needs a lot of cash fast. So I'm going to solve their money problems by giving them a tourist magnet.
Lots of Fresno folks laughed when Conan O'Brien offered to help the city raise money by offering to bring his bobblehead to town. But no one's laughing after several California cities filed for bankruptcy over the summer. Stockton is the biggest city in the country to file for bankruptcy protection, and we wanted to find out if what happened there could happen here.
So we sent CBS 47's Zara Arboleta to the North Valley to crunch some numbers.
It's a tale of two cities, 200 miles apart, both with serious money problems. But while Fresno is getting by paycheck to paycheck, Stockton's already hit rock bottom.
City of Stockton had no reserves going into this.
Stockton Mayor Ann Johnston pulled the financial trigger over the summer. After falling $26 million in debt, the city filed for Chapter 9 bankruptcy protection.
That puts a hold on all our creditors. They can't come in, and it stops us from having to make the payments that we're going to just require further cuts to police, further cuts to everything in the city. And we've cut all we're going to cut. It's that simple.
What's not so simple is how Stockton got into this mess. The housing bust, dried up property taxes. The city funded expensive projects like the construction of a new baseball stadium, hockey arena, and hotel. Generous medical and retirement benefits provided since the 1990s started to deplete the reserves. And more recently, leaders began making risky bond and credit moves to generate funds, and those moves failed. So could what happened there happen to the Valley's biggest city?
I don't anticipate we're going to have to go down that path, and it's been the result of the last 3.5 years, very difficult decision.
Fresno Mayor Ashley Swearingen's overseen 8 rounds of budget cuts over the last 3 years. She says Fresno and Stockton are very different. Stockton, with a population of 296,000 people, has a total budget of $521 million. Fresno's, with more than 500,000 people, comes in at just under the $1 billion mark. Stockton's deficit is a whopping $26 million. Fresno's is less than half that at $12 million. Stockton has problems with short-term and long-term cash flow. Fresno has no short-term cash on hand, but is okay, Mayor Swearingen says, in the long term. But both mayors are running into the same brick wall, stalled negotiations with its police unions. Stockton's lost 120 sworn officers in the last few years, a quarter of its entire squad. Fresno's lost 111. Its union has agreed to $28 million in cuts since 2008 and now says no more.
We deserve, with our tax dollars here in Fresno, we deserve to have the most ethical, the most professional police officers, the most highly trained police officers. We shouldn't be just settling. And when you settle, you end up having what's happening in Stockton.
What's happening in Stockton? A spike in violent crimes with more than 50 murders already and a wait time of 24 hours or longer for responses to non-violent crimes like burglaries or vandalism. Stockton's police union is also standing firm.
And everybody might have to give a little to keep the city afloat, and we understand that as our association, and I hope that Fresno understands that also, that everybody might have to give a little bit. But the question becomes, is it fair and equal across the board? Is everybody making the same concessions, from the city manager down to the janitors? Everybody should do the exact same thing.
Despite the bankruptcy filing, Stockton shows some signs of revitalization.
The feds are pouring millions of dollars to turn this section of the San Joaquin River into a maritime highway. While just south of town, the state is building a new billion-dollar prison facility. All the outside aid does help, but nothing ever gets fixed long-term unless it happens at the local level.
And that means more possible concessions ahead for city workers across the board, including police, whose contract is up again in 2015.
As we move forward over the next 3 years, there are significant labor negotiations that we'll have to have, and we'll have to see savings from those contracts. There's no other way forward for Fresno but to see those savings.
We're here. We're committed to this community, and what's going on right now is going to affect us and our families for a long time. So it's important to us, absolutely.
And that was CBS 47's Zara Arboleta reporting. Footnote to all this: in March, the City Council adopted the mayor's fiscal sustainability policy. It outlines ways for the City Hall to keep its budget on track for the next several years. Fascinating, like she said, a tale of two cities.
Comparing the two, and you know, it does make you feel, You know, we're so nervous because we live
Right.
here, but it does make you feel a little bit better when you compare the two.
It's not as bad as what Stockton's gone through and is going through.
Absolutely. Now, for a link to Mayor Swearingen's report and more information on Fresno and Stockton, log on to CBS47.tv and click on Special Features.